Hey everybody, I'm your host Oksana Tademy, and you are watching the Sit Down Pre-Show. I'm here tonight with our guest, our special guest, the one, the only, Daniel Tademy. Woo! Can I cheer for my own guest? Woo! So Daniel, welcome. I know this is going to be different for you because you're used to being in this seat when it comes to the sit down interviews. So tell the people a little bit about who you are. Who is Daniel Tademy?
Who is Daniel Tademy? Wow, that's a big question. I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but just a guy, a kid from Tampa, Florida, just trying to make his way through life. I got a couple of skills that I think that I can add to the world, that I think that actually set the stage for what's about to happen. So yeah, that's basically my nutshell.
Okay, simple, to the point. I like it.
Yeah.
So you created something here in Orlando that got a lot of buzz, actually, to the point where you're now referred to by some people as Mr. Sit Down. So can you kind of tell us what the Sit Down is and actually how that got started, for those who may not know?
So how the Sit Down got started, I'll go there and then I'll go to kind of what it is. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because the Sit Down started because of you, basically. But for those that don't know the story, so we had a radio show, segment within the radio show called the Word Knowledge Radio Show. Shout out to Knowledge.
Hey, Knowledge.
So we had a segment as the Tademys, right? I think it was Real Talk with the Tademys. I think it was our segment. Yep. So we had that radio segment, and so that got me into communicating, right? So I wasn't big into that at all, but doing that got me into it. So after that segment time, I guess we stopped it or whatever, for whatever reason. You made a comment to me. I don't know what we were doing. I forget. But you was like, you should get paid to talk. And I was like, I don't know, I never thought about talking. I was just rapping. I was a rapper. Mm-hmm. So that's all I knew. So the George Floyd murder happened, fast forward through all that. Mm-hmm. So George Floyd, he gets murdered. And I was like, man, it'd be really dope, to kind of talk to a cop, because the world was crazy, temperature was crazy in America, and I was like, man, it'd be dope to kind of talk to a cop and just kind of see how they feel about that and what they got. So one of my mentors, shout out to Pastor Brown, I said, man, he's a cop, he's black, and he's a pastor. So I said, yo, that'd be really dope to kind of have those three dynamics represented in a conversation around George Floyd. So man, I did a Facebook Live in the home office. It was just camera set up.
You had a little whiteboard.
Yeah, a little dry erase board that said to sit down.
Oh my gosh.
And so he comes to the office. We have a conversation about it. It was really dope. People really received it, which I was shocked because it really wasn't well presented. But the conversation was dope. The content was really good. And so after that, I said, man, I could kind of do this. So it kind of started with just a series of Facebook Lives. And people received it, because if people wasn't watching it, it probably wouldn't have continued. But I kept getting a lot of great feedback, so I kept doing it. Right. It's just kind of one of those things where, you just keep pushing yourself to do it. And now we're over 70 episodes, 3 seasons, going into season 4.
That's
huge.
A
lot of content.
A lot of people don't even make it to 10
episodes. No. I remember.
So that's big.
I was listening to Kev on stage, and he said, when you're doing something like this and you're pushing and doing it, he said, if you can make it to 100 episodes of nobody really watching you, then you got something. So in my brain, the whole entire time pushing was just make it to 100, because of what he said, just get to 100 episodes, and he said, if you could do 100 episodes with no one watching your stuff and very little exposure, if you could push through to get 100, you got something. So that's always been my goal mentally. So 100 episodes.
That's awesome. I love that. Setting that goal for yourself and going for it. And you're almost there.
Almost. We got 20 episodes. We got 2 more seasons, I think.
So I'm going to have to rewind a little bit, because when I asked you what is the sit down, I was really hoping you would clarify exactly what it is. Because some people say it's a podcast. Some people say it's all kinds of things. But we're going to put some respect on the sit down right now. So I'm going to ask you again. What is the sit down?
The sit down. It's a talk show, right? So when I first started it, it was around COVID time. So a lot of podcasts and stuff was being released, and when I did the sit down, it kind of was presented like in podcast format,
Yeah.
but I never went with the mic in front of me because I said, I don't want it to be a podcast. I want a talk show. Like I want a show. Right. So I said, in order for that to be presented that way, yeah, it's social content and it's going straight to social media, but it's not a podcast, right? It's a talk show. And that's what I want the sit down to be. So I always presented it that way, you know, because that's what I want and that's what we're going for. And the way I did it was candid conversations. Everything was candid. So I thought of questions at the time, you know, but I never, in the beginning, I did write stuff down, but I stopped doing that because I wanted it to be candid. It's candid conversations. The guest is, you know, the point of interest or the topic of the conversation centered around them. So, I mean, it's a free-flowing conversation. And a lot of the guests that we've had on the show, when the camera's rolling, a lot of them didn't even know because we just straight go rolling right into a conversation. And that's kind of what I want to represent. So that's what the sit down is.
Okay. You kind of answered part of this. I was going to ask you what exactly sets the sit down apart from other, you know, platforms where people have conversations. Like, what is it that really makes it stand out?
I would say the conversation because, and the reason why I say that, I haven't been a guest on many talk shows, so I don't really have that form of reference. But based off of everything my guests have said, you know, and like guest after guest after guest has said it's the best interview. And so the fact that it is candid conversation, that's what people always come back to and reference, you know, when it comes to sitting across from me and having a conversation and being a guest on the show. It's just the conversation, you know, because if you can have a good conversation with a person, you know, that just means that y'all mesh personality wise. And so a lot of times what I do before my guests even make it to the set, I'll call them on the phone and we'll have a conversation.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, what are we going to talk about? And I'm just like, we've been on the phone. Literally, like, this is over 70 conversations I've had with people on the phone before they make it to the sit down. And it's just like, we're on the phone for 30, 40 minutes to an hour. And I'm like, bro, we literally just had to sit down, just being on this phone call. You know, and that's really what I pride myself on as far as like being, you know, the sit down. That's what I pride the platform on, is the fact that it is a candid conversation. Because I feel like people should be able to talk, no matter your background, your personalities, wherever you come from, you should be able to come down and sit down and have a conversation with somebody. And so that's what sets it apart, I believe.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I have kind of a unique perspective because I was behind the camera for all of this.
Yep. What's your unique perspective?
I think what made it so impactful, especially during the time that we started it, was the just having those genuine like conversations, because everybody was, you know, shut down in the middle of a pandemic. People really couldn't socialize and interface the way that we were used to. So having a platform where people could have those genuine conversations and really connect without any agendas, without any clickbait, you know, just really having like a heart-to-heart with somebody that you just met that actually has a genuine desire to know more about you. And to me, that was a beautiful thing to see. And I've always wondered, actually, like, who was your favorite interview? Do you have a favorite interview?
Oh, man. Favorite interview? But Christopher Baugh's the most memorable.
Okay.
Because what happened after the camera stopped. So that was the most memorable. Favorite? Oh man.
I know who I think it is, but I want to know from you.
I don't know if I have a favorite, because it was a lot of conversations, a lot of people that I talked to. Brandon, what up, B? Of course, like that's my close friend, my brother, so that was a good one. Darwin, my brother,
impactful?
was a good one.
Is that a better way to ask?
Most impactful? I would say Ramses. What up, Ramses? Okay. And the reason why I say Ramses is because of what Ramses does in his show and his platform, you know, and just how much I was able to get from him.
Right.
I think that his was probably the most impactful to me personally, because I had a conversation with him prior to him coming. So it kind of was a whole stage set to where I was reaching out to him just to kind of pick his brain on a couple of things I was dealing with going through as far as the sit down. Right. So that was probably the most impactful to me because of that. Okay,
so that was the most impactful one.
Yeah.
What was your favorite compliment that you got from a guest about the show?
Oh man, my favorite compliment would be two. definitely Loso goes down as a compliment because of the who he is and how I look up to him as, just an artist, entertainer, battle rapper, and him saying that the sit down was his favorite interview. And being able to have that relationship with him, I thought that was pretty dope. And then Sheila from B Cupcakes.
Okay.
She told me that she likes the way my mind works. And I thought that was pretty dope because, when you have these ideas, it's one thing to have them in your head. And then when you try to like put it out for the world, because like now once the idea leaves your brain and you put it out there, it's open for criticism. It's open for all type of things. It's just like posting on social media.
Right.
Once you post it, people can criticize it. You can't be upset for what they say because you put it out there to the public. So in doing it and having these ideas and putting it out there in front of the world, for someone to compliment the way you think, because sometimes you think like, man, am I thinking something weird? Is this weird? Is this gonna work? So to hear that compliment was really dope. And the time it came was actually pretty cool too.
Okay. The two I thought of automatically, one was Brandex when he said that his experience was the epitome of excellence.
Oh,
quote,
Brandex. What up, Brandex? Oh yeah, he was pretty dope. That was a good one too.
Rom Lee too. When he said that you really take the time to cater to your guest and make people feel comfortable. That was a really good compliment.
Yeah, Rom Lee was
we
dope
had
a lot
of different feedback. But okay, so that's interesting to know. I've always been curious about that, so that's why I wanted to ask. So what is something about you that people may not know that's interesting?
Something about me that people don't know that's
because you have this ability to
interesting,
be honest, but then at the same time like maintain a level of mystery to you at the same time.
And people don't this is who you see is kind of who I am. Like that's real. Like I don't change much about how I operate outside of like what people see and what they don't see. It's kind of what you see is what you get. Like and it took me a while to get there. Like I wasn't always like this. Like I did hide a lot of stuff. I wasn't as open with how I am because people criticize, and I couldn't take that growing up. A lot of times I would be shy and I would fall to the back. I'm contrary to what people see, I don't talk a lot in public. Like I'm pretty quiet and to myself a lot of times. So I still have that part to me, but now it's not. I'm not quiet because, I'm trying to like shrink or hide. I'm quiet just because it's just who I am. Like unless someone wants to talk to me, I'm probably not gonna go up and talk to nobody. I'm extremely introverted. I know a lot of people don't think that.
I don't
too
even
much.
fully buy that, to be honest with you.
To a degree, it depends on who I'm talking to, and for what reason.
Okay.
Will I open up and have those type of conversations? I'm huge. I'm a huge anime head. I love anime. Like that's my jam.
I thought it was gonna be your first one, was that you love anime.
I post about anime. I secretly gave y'all a taste of my anime. Y'all, I haven't given. I post little things here and there. I want to go slap crazy with anime. I wanted an anime show. That's what I really wanted.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
So for people that are on the outside looking in at everything that you've been building so far, what would you say it takes to create something like the Sit Down?
You and Lamar. It takes people, man. It takes people support and it takes buy-in. And one of the things that I've learned over the years, because we did the Sit Down by ourselves for like a long time. And it took a lot of work. I learned a lot doing it that way. So it's pretty dope to have that history. But in the whole entire time, I always knew that I wanted to have a team. I wanted to have a group of creative or collective. So even when we did Tademy Productions, assembling the team, Tademy Network, I always tried to pull people into what I was doing, because one thing that I really learned was if it's all about you shining, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get anywhere. You have to be willing to shine light on people, right? And that's been my biggest thing throughout this whole entire time, has been to put people on, right? And then putting people on and them doing their thing, you're gonna get your thing. Like it's gonna benefit you as well. So I don't push it off for myself. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to really change how I did the Sit Down too and everything, because I was like, in my brain, I I had a thought of how I wanted to do it, but I said, man, it's not coming off that way. It's not coming off the way I thought. So I said, you know what? There has to be a restructure. It has to be a change.
Right.
So I just kind of like clarify, how I wanted to do it and course correct as it goes. Cause I have an idea, I have a vision, I have a dream that I want to see accomplished, and it's going to take people. I can't do it. I don't want to do it by myself.
Right.
It takes people.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think I admire and respect the most about the way that you've been building what you're building, is the fact that you don't mind using what you're building to give others a platform and to let other people showcase their abilities and their talents. So that's
I'm not worried about getting mine. I already know I'm gonna get mine. Like that's gonna come. So I'm not pursuing getting mine. I'm pursuing trying to build something, and on the way it's like people are like, oh, when I get it, then I'll start giving people to it. Nah, man, you give to people on the way there.
On the way up.
Because if you don't give on the way up, by the time you get there, you're gonna be such in a mode, and what you have built will only be centered around you to where it might not be that easy to extend. Not to say that you don't want to, but you constructed this system built solely around you. So now when you try to pull people in or extend out to people, there's no way for them to plug into, because you already built your house with limited outlets. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a good way of putting it. Okay, so speaking of giving other people a platform and helping other people on the way up, what advice would you give to somebody who is trying to build something of their own or is trying to build their dream? What advice would you give to that person?
Do it, no matter what it looks like, feels like, no matter what it starts like. Jump out the plane and build a parachute on the way down. That's like my go-to saying. That is how you, man, like, because when we first got into this media game, you already know, we started with an Android cell phone.
Listen.
When I first got into media, it was with the Android cell phone in a Walmart parking lot. That was the start, right? But my thing was, it's not about what equipment you got, what you got. If you don't have an eye for it, if you don't have a vision for it, if you don't have, the unction to go do it and push yourself, no matter what you have, you're not going to use it to the best of its ability anyways, because that's just not what it is for you. So when I started that and we did that, then Jannard, shout out to Jannard, blessed us with that Canon T6. And then from the T6, the sit down came, and then all these other things came from it, all this other type of content. So my biggest piece of advice is you just do it. No matter what it looks like, feels like, tastes like, man, just get out there and just do it. Let it look ugly. You know what I'm saying? Let it look low budget. Let it look like you don't know what you're doing. It's okay to look like you don't know what you're doing. Do it confidently, and and then just keep moving from there. Because when people start seeing that, nobody wants to attach themselves to a train that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So you can have all these visions, all these dreams, but if you're not moving and pursuing it, nobody's gonna want to come alongside of you. If we don't push through 3 seasons of the sit down, then when we try to push through and try to call and try to add people to it, it's just like, well, I don't even know what you got going on.
Right. There's
so
nothing
how
to show.
can I? There's nothing to show. So show your work, and then people want to see your growth. People can go back to episode 1 now and look how that looked.
And they're gonna do it. Like as this continues to grow, like people are gonna go back and be like, "Oh wow, look at where they started."
And it was crazy. I don't even go back that deep.
Yeah, I love that. We should put that like on a cup or something. Let them see the journey.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I know people probably wonder this a lot, so I'm gonna ask you for the sake of everybody that is wondering, what is it like to work with your spouse?
It's the best thing in the world. It's joyous. You all should try it. But it's good though. It's fun. We've kind of built a culture of working together already, so it's kind of like second nature to this point. At this point, you know, it took us a while to get. We were working together before we got married.
Literally,
we're working together. Yeah. So like we've always been working together. Yeah. So
that was one of the first things that we ever did. Yeah. Like meeting each other was like that working together dynamic.
Yeah, out the gate. So not working with you doesn't feel right. So to where like everything I do or everything I try to I work on, I always like, oh, you gonna do something? Are you doing this? Or this is what I want you to do. So like, because that's a habit, and to me, it's a good habit. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I actually enjoy it, because if you can't and you have your own things and dreams that you want to do. So if I can't support you in that way, like, yeah, I can help you on your stuff, but bringing you in on my stuff that I'm doing too, and allowing you to have my platform. Now you have your platform, and you also have my platform. So like, it helps, man. And it goes back to the way I look at things. I'm always trying to look for a way to throw somebody else into it, because I feel like that's better anyways. So I love it.
I feel like at this point it's second nature for me
It's
too.
second
Like,
nature.
you don't even have to ask me for certain things anymore.
No.
Like I'll just start working on stuff like, hey, you need this
Yeah.
to get this done, you know? But that's one of the things I love most about our dynamic, I think, is how well we do work together.
Yeah. And you'll see things I don't even see. I don't even think I should be looking at. So like it behooves a person to have that. Like I'm not saying everyone should do it, because sometimes you just can't. Like y'all just not in the same lane with stuff. So I mean, you got to support different type of ways. But the fact that we're in the same lane with a lot of what we do, you know, and you can see things that I don't even see. So it behooves me to have you work with me, because you being the closest person to me, you know more about me than anybody else in the face of this planet. So like having you work in a work spot too, it's like, oh man, yeah, you may be able to do this or you want to do this, but based off of what I know about you, your personality, that ain't gonna work for you. So like you can kind of like warm me on a lot of things too.
That's not your grace.
That's not you. Yeah, you can't do that, Daniel. I know you want to do it, but that don't fit you.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely been a journey, and I'm grateful that I've been able to be a part of it every step of the way. And I'm excited to see what's coming up next for the sit down. So that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. What is coming up next for the sit down? Let's talk about that.
So it was one of those things where I'm not going to say it just happened because we wanted it to happen in some way, shape, or form. But the sit down live, becoming a live show in front of a live audience, right, is one thing, right? Yeah. Having a live studio audience is one thing, but we're not going live studio, we're going theater. So now it becomes a production, right? So now it becomes like something that people are, you know, you got the conversation, it's just one part of it. So the sit down live, man, for season 4, is the next step for the sit down. So now we were able to partner with Theater 1901. Appreciate y'all, Lavarius. So we were able to have a partnership with him to now bring the sit down to his theater. So that means, you know, talents, giftings, you know, showing the performing arts. So Candid Conversation meets the performing arts. That's what the sit down is about. And it kind of goes into line to what we're all about anyways, being the sit down. So having that, you know, the performing arts being a part of it, it kind of fits with what we're all about, you know, giving people more opportunity to showcase different type of giftings and talents, and then having it in front of a live audience to get that live feedback. That's going to be another thing. Listen, you know,
that's what I'm excited for.
So the conversations better be good.
That part.
You know, because you're going to get that immediate feedback. And then just being able to do something like that, period, I think it'd be pretty dope. And to showcase, you know, what we can do as a team in front of a live audience, I think that'd be really dope too. So I'm excited about doing it.
Me too.
Nervous and all that stuff.
Listen, it's going to be a whole other adventure. And I think it's so great because going back to what we were talking about with, you know, giving people a platform and making it about community. I think partnering with, you know, Theater 1901, shout out again to Lavarius, partnering with them and like a theater that's so devoted and dedicated to giving back to the community and keeping the performing arts alive in the community. That's going to be great. And having that platform to allow people that are local in the community to showcase talent and, you know, to do things that, you know, bring attention back to Orlando and a lot of the hidden gems that we have here. Orlando is filled with so much talent that people don't know about. So I think that platform is going to be really great for the community, and it's just another way of giving back, you know? But yeah, so I'm excited about what's coming up. It was really great to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the sit down. So
thanks for having me on.
So make sure you guys stay tuned for
the Sit Down Live season 4, man.
Hey.
Y'all be on the lookout for that.
It's gonna be great.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Sit Down pre-show. I appreciate it. Hey, look, we have some exciting news coming down the pipeline with the Sit Down Live Season 4. Okay, so be on the lookout for that information, dates and times. We're going to be getting that all out. We're looking to start production around early next year, but we'll finalize a few things and then we'll send those dates and times out there where you guys can purchase your tickets, okay? Listen, if you want to partner with us, sponsorships, we have packages available. If you're interested in that, you want to connect with what we're doing, you can inquire at contactthesitdown@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, or if you want to showcase your gift or talent in one of our spotlight segments, you can inquire about that. Same email, send us an email, contactthesitdown@gmail.com. If you want to join the family, you can inquire that too. We're always looking for people to add to what we're doing. So listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll holler at you next time, all right? Deuces.